And of course, time to discuss that cabinet reshuffle that happened yesterday. And of course, the docket my colleague was looking for is mining, where Dan Kazungu, the MP Malindi, has been nominated as, yeah, it's a nomination as far as now is concerned. I hope I used proper English there. But he's been nominated to the mining docket, so if approved by Parliament, he will be the guy who'll be talking over that docket from Najib Balala, who's been moved to tourism, okay? But it's not iron politics, so don't get it twisted. We're just discussing the cabinet reshuffle announced by the president yesterday. Of course, DANSTAN OMARI is with us in studio. Welcome to the program, sir.
Thanks a lot, Sammy. And it's a wonderful day that we have a new cabinet in the government.
Yes, we have a new cabinet that has been announced. How about probably, before we start the discussion, let's get a feel of exactly who is taking over what in the new reshuffle. There you have it. Some names were kept, others were dropped, others were introduced into the cabinet. And DANSTAN OMARI, when the president made that announcement yesterday evening, after the names were out, what did you think of the new look of the cabinet?
Well, the new look of the cabinet is a reaction of what Kenyans have been saying. There are four issues that the old cabinet, the cabinet that was in place before the cabinet that came yesterday, ignored four pillars. One, having a political wing of the cabinet. Remember, the first cabinet had mostly, almost 85% of it was a technocrat-based cabinet. So they could not be able to take the message, the cabinet decisions, the way they have passed their own policies in a political manner, which made the presidency be attacked that it is not delivering anything. When you look at now the composition of the cabinet, we have Charles Cattell. He's a former cabinet minister for energy. He's back to the to cabinet. We are talking of Najib Balala. We are talking of Dan Kazungu. We are talking about Mwangi Kiunjuri, a veteran of these areas. So we have Eugene Wamalo and the others. We have a hybrid type of a cabinet that caters for the political angle and the technocrat. That is one achievement that the cabinet, the president appointed, achieved. Mm-hmm. Two, we have the question of professionalism, putting people in charge of dockets they have expertise in. If you look, Najib Balala has been moved to tourism. He was a very successful minister under the old government in tourism. Mm-hmm. When you look about a person like Kiunjuri has always been fighting all through issues about devolution, issues about the constitution. So he comes on board as a former assistant minister who has that experience in terms of devolution. And he is able to deal with governance.
And at that point, Omari, I'll just cut you short and we take a quick break, but we'll be back on this with this discussion on the cabinet reshuffle, so keep it right here.
Very well.
Granted, if I was ever to get serious, Samantha's the kind of girl I could settle down with.
If it's okay with you, can I just hang out here for a little while?
Oh, absolutely. You can stay as long as you want.
Miss Owens is lovesick.
Cassandra, that's private.
Can you and I ever have any privacy?
Take this personally when I say, hit the road.
What?
Now.
Now?
Mr. Box Office.
Can a parent love all children equally?
Everything is in here. Even Mom's documents are in a folder in there.
Samantha, you and Mom are doing things on the side without telling me again.
Listen, John, it all happened so fast. That's why I reached out to you, and then we could... John! Listen, I know what you must be feeling, and that's
Don't tell me you know nothing. You have no idea. I don't think you're better than me just because Mom favored you.
She didn't favor anyone.
Ah, come on, stop pretending like you didn't know that you were their favorite one. I was just the black sheep, you know, the difficult one. Everything was about you.
This is our topic of the day and our bold conversation.
La Bible déclare.
Pour louer le roi des rois, pour louer celui qui est ressuscité le troisième jour.
Jesus reigns, the King of glory reigns, he reigns, he reigns.
And we are back, and of course we're still discussing the cabinet reshuffle announced by the president yesterday. And of course, Omari, you were saying something before we took a break about the 4 pillars that were taken care of.
Yes, the president have dealt with the political angle that he has brought in the political angle to his cabinet, which will work very well in terms of getting his message back, the president's message to the public, to Wanjiku, and also on how to deal with the political class, because there seems to have been no cohesion between the political class and the presidents, that's the executive and the political class and the public. Mm-hmm. Number 2, for the first time you saw that the president has given professionals where they have trained, where they are experts to head ministries. Machari has moved from health and gone to transport, where he's an expert as a former banker. You're seeing Matiang'i has moved from ICT and he has gone to education. He's a university lecturer. We are seeing people moving, Balala moving from mining to tourism. We are seeing everybody moving in. When he has brought in the ICT guru, that is Joe Musheru, coming in to bring in the expert in terms of digital migration, the question about the ICT development, the concern and issue that we have. So when you see that the private sector is now represented in, and that private sector comes in with that expertise of people like Joe Musheru. So we are saying that for the first time, everybody is doing what they know. Except that it is very surprising that you see Professor Kaimenyi going to lands. That is actually the only way that you have got to deal with the third pillar, which I'm coming in, the pillar of having the face of the Republic. The face of the Republic demands that the President accommodates almost every sector of the public. So that is why people like Kaimenyi could not go, because Kaimenyi represents the interests of the Meru community. We are seeing also the question about the Kipsigis clamor that they do not represent, they are not represented. The COD brigade has been camping in the Kipsigis county, and now Charles Ketel comes in to say there is no disparity between the Nandis and the Kipsigis. So politically, that constituency has been mollified, and it feels part and parcel of government. You have also seen him bring quite a number of cabinet secretaries, 41 of them. And if you look at the 41 of them, he has captured almost every sector that was not there. You have also, on the political aspect, remember that the Kikuyu diaspora, those are the Kikuyus that are outside Kirinyaga, outside Kiambul, and outside Nyeri, have been raising very serious issues. That, look, we do not have anybody of us coming to government. Every other time we vote, we are not represented. Our only person who was in government was Kimemia. Now we have Kunjuri, for the first time, having a very powerful position all the way from Nyandarua. So he has also taken care of that political aspect, that the face of the Republic, his constituency everywhere, he looked at that. Then fourth, he looked at the age differences. The youth who have felt that the president promised them a lot of work. He forgot to include them in government. When you look at Dani Kazungu, when you look at Kunjuri, when you look at Joe Musheru, when you look at the type of breed he has come in, he has brought almost 70% very young and vibrant technocrats. That now tells you that, and when you look at the cabinet secretaries, most of them have come, the principal secretaries, very many of them are young people who are able to connect with the electorate, who are the digital group. So we are seeing that he also looked at the question of the youth and pumped in quite a number of the youth into the sector. Lastly, there is also the question about corruption. The government has been seen to be very corrupt. Everybody was raising the question of corruption. The fact that the president sacked the 5 people and accepted the resignation of 1 is enough evidence that he has no time to deal with anybody who has a corruption baggage. So in one way or another, the president is saying that he is starting afresh. Remember, he also promised that within 2 weeks, the office of the presidency is going to be overhauled. It's the same way to the deputy president's office to realign itself to service delivery. Because the government that the president took and brought in 2013 was almost the old type of Serikali ya Nusu Mkate, inherited it. So now he has dismantled all those systems and is putting in his own government.
Right.
Yeah.
OMARI, before we talk about the competences of especially the new faces who have made way into the cabinet, let's talk about dropping Charity Ngilu.
Yes.
When the Jubilee Manifesto was being launched, the faces therein were the president, the deputy president, Najib Balala, who's now in tourism, and the former Lands Cabinet Secretary, Charity Ngilu. She's now out.
Yes.
I know there's the entry of Cleophas Mailu.
Yes.
But do we expect any consequences with the dropping of Charity Ngilu?
There cannot be any consequences because, one, Cleophas Mailu, a former boss at Nairobi Hospital, went to KNH. He's now back in government. He might not be adding any political value. One, the president looked at service delivery. Ngilu comes from the Kamba Nation. Is she likely to add any value in the presidential campaign come 2013? By her being there, it became totally untenable to keep her, because if you keep your friend there, then the question that comes in, why her and why the others are going out? Just like Waiguru, they had all to go. They had become a liability for Jubilee for the remaining 2.5 years. But in 2017, when the elections are coming, they might be reaccommodated for the purpose of elections, but for the purpose of survival of the government, which had become a liability, a serious problem in terms of perception, they had to go. And Ngilu is now a past tense story. She can no longer hold Uhuru at ransom. Remember, as I was saying, the president, for the first time, also made it very clear that the calls from the Rift Valley Nation to reinstate Felix Koskei, David Chirchir, for once and for all, he made it very clear that there is nobody indispensable when it comes to the people, the perception the public have. If the public believe, you might not be wrong, but if the public believe you are corrupt and you are not for the good of this nation, you step aside. Now he has moved away from stepping aside. He has confirmed that he does not want that. And still the president has gone and picked people like Bet, the former boss at the seed company, to take the agriculture ministry. He has also brought in Keter. So really, he has confirmed that for him, he has no time for corruption. And once that message lands to everybody that for the president, he has no time for corruption. Whether you are his friend, then his government becomes a good government.
The new faces.
Yes.
Now. In fact, one of them is trending on Twitter as we speak.
Yes.
Joe Mucheru.
Yes.
And Kenyans are expressing their views
yes.
as to the nomination of Joe Mucheru to the ICT ministry, but also Mwangi Kionjori
yes.
stepping into the shoes of Anne Waiguru. Will yes. that be a walk in the park?
Well, for Joe Mucheru, I will put it very clearly that Joe Mucheru, 4 years ago, was the regional ambassador for Google.
For Google.
The whole of Africa. 4 years ago, Joe Mucheru was faced with one question. Does he continue serving the African region? Ago was the regional ambassador for Google.
For Google.
The whole of Africa. 4 years ago, Joe Mucheru was faced with one question. Does he continue serving the African region, or does he take a lesser position and become the Kenyan manager? Joe Mucheru did take a nationalist approach. He refused to serve the whole of Africa, and he came down to be the regional manager, the boss in Kenya.
The country head.
Country head. For 4 years, he is still an employee to date of Google. Google is a company that looks at the issues of fraud very seriously. If indeed Joe Mucheru was found guilty or there was any allegation about fraud, Joe Mucheru could not be working for Google today. As we are talking, Joe Mucheru was part of the group that met President Obama. And out of it, Joe Mucheru was given a wing for the energy. All the turbines or the energy sector, all issues about investments in energy in this country are coming directly through Joe Mucheru. So let us not politicize issues because Joe Mucheru is a young guy. Let us not deal with the Joe Mucheru from an ethnic perspective that we now move the same approach that Waiguru was attacked and Waiguru lost her job. Joe Mucheru, for now, as we are speaking, still works for Google. And I do not see why the sharks. Remember, there are people who are targeting the ICT sector. The digital era, the laptop are coming. For the first time, we have the real expert in terms of ICT, heading that position. So the onslaught against Musheru, to me, is an onslaught on people who have an interest to take over that. When you talk about we talk about Mwangi Kiunjuri, we are talking of a politician, a young, self-made politician who is able to coordinate political issues between the government, between the governors, between the senators, and between the executive. He fits into the program. But I'm telling you that those two sectors are going to arouse a lot of debate and a lot of trending that these two gentlemen do not fit the knee. There is no credible argument against the two gentlemen. For example, when you talk about the laptop project, my learned, my friend and my classmate, Fred Matiang'i, has not delivered the laptops within the stipulated time. That is why the president has gone shopping for Joe Musheru. Joe Musheru represents the private sector. Joe Musheru represents the young entrepreneurship. Joe Musheru represents the present and the future. We are used with the past. And that is what my position is, that Joe Musheru stands in as the biggest success story that the president has done. Although the president retained Wario after the Harambee Stars saga, probably the president and the state has found out that the problem is with the FKF. And therefore, the wars that Nyamwe has been fighting Wario is the results of the fiasco that the national team failed to move ahead. We believe that now we have a composition of a hybrid type of cabinet, and the question of people raising issues will not go away. But I believe that within a very short time, the names will go to Parliament, and by virtue of the quality of and the professional skills of the people that have been mentioned, have been nominated, their names will be approved.
So when the president was replacing former Interior Minister Olelenku, decided to go for Nkaiseri, who is from the ODM side. Right now, he's gone shopping for yet another member of parliament from ODM, and that is Dan Kazungu. What political signals is this move sending?
The president is very clear that he's a president of the nation, and he will go for the hand that will deliver. Whether it is in ODM, whether it is in Jubilee, whether it is in GNU. Remember, Mwangi Kiunjuri comes from GNU. Dan Manzo comes from ODM. He is telling people, I took Nkaiseri, the country is safer now. Had I stuck by a Jubilee person, this nation could not have succeeded. The fact that the president is pushing the agenda to have a national face is a clear indication that he is not interested in petty politics. The presidency and the Jubilee government are saying, let us talk together, let us work together. The people we are serving don't belong to Jubilee, they don't belong to CORD, they don't belong to ODM, they belong to this nation. And everybody has a space to serve. Remember the Okoa Kenya initiative and the Boresha Katiba initiative. There is a general consensus that there was no semblance of the face of the Republic. People in Malindi have always been feeling that they are out of government, other than Najib Balala, who has been there. So now we are saying the areas that were seen to be marginalized have been rewarded to be in government. And are these people competent? My prayer is that let us look at the quality and the integrity and the fidelity to serve the nation. Vis-a-vis, we forgot about the questions of politics. In 2017, we will be voting.
We will be voting.
Yes.
Around the corner.
Yes.
Dunstan, there is the rift in the rift.
Yes.
Be it a reality, be it a perception.
Yes.
It is there.
Yes.
With the coming of the new faces, even making entrants like Willie Bett into agriculture, Charles Keter now into energy, will this, one, quiet the rift in the rift? And number two, there was a feeling that the president may want to reach out to other areas in his new cabinet. With this new face, has that been satisfied?
Well, the problem in the rift has been satisfied. One, the rift in the rift was purely on two issues. the people from the Eldoret side, the Nandi side, were perceived to have taken the lion's share of the cabinet slots. The people from the KBC side were seen to have the biggest voting block of voters, but they were not represented at the highest level of government. The people, most of the people who were removed during the Kibaki regime were coming from the rift of the KBC, the Kericho side. Mm-hmm. Reason being that the deputy president, the former prime minister, had more support in Kericho and Bomet than he had in Nandi, because Nandi, he saw the deputy president being there. Now that there is parity, now that the KBCs have been accepted and have been given slot, that rift seems to have left. Remember, the Baringo question has never moved away from the questions about the rift. Mm-hmm. The Baringo question has been dealt by retaining Kandie. There's a Baringo sector there. The Kericho sector, the KBC sector, there is Charles Cartel. And the other side, we have the deputy president and we have other people there. So really that balances the Rift province. And the perception that was there that the deputy president was not going to accept Felix Koske and David Chilchil leave is a false perception. The deputy president was present, the deputy president approved, the deputy president is working still with the president together. So to me, those were stories that were created by COD to create a division between the president and the deputy president. On the other issue about, you raised what about again?
The other issue of, you know, with the entry of the new faces,
yes,
and especially with Charles Keter,
yeah,
and Willie Bett.
Yes.
Will that now, you know, sort of silence the rift in the rift? That was the first question.
Yes.
And number two, what are some of, you know, the political consequences of this particular move? Be they positive or negative?
Politically, the president has scored a serious score. One, he's seen as now represent as the father, the head of state, accommodating everybody. Mm-hmm. He has still retained Rachel Mamu at the powerful docket
of defense.
That is a lady who comes from the bedrock of the ODM support. He has gone and given Mailu from the Wiper side, the Kamba nation. Remember, there was the question about the Juma issue. There was the question about the Ngilu issue. Juma has been moved to be the PS, Foreign Affairs, where she is very well versed with, which tells you that there is no question about the Kamba nation being neglected because of Kaindi from the police, because of Ngilu. All that talk now is not there. Mailu takes over that and represents that interest, and Monica takes the other side. There was the talk about the Rift Valley. We've dealt with that. There was about the talk about the Kikuyu diaspora. We've talked about Mwangi Kiunjuri coming in. Mm-hmm. There was a lot of disquiet in where I come from in the Kisii area that they have only one minister. Now we have a PS. That is the Kisii nation is captured there. So when you look at the way the positions were distributed, everybody has at least something to say. They have something. There was some form of riots and quarrels in Kirinyaga when Anne Waiguru left the job. They have been given a PS by the name Maringa. So really the president balanced the political aspect. And the president, as I've said, he is developing a political machinery for 2017. That is only at the ministerial and the PS's level. When you hear he has now overhauled the procurement process, that is a fundamental issue, that once he is overhauling the procurement process and bringing in new laws that deal with the bribery, new laws that are dealing with the tendering, new laws that are dealing to comply with Article 227 of the Constitution on issues about procurement, the president is alive to the fact that his government had a bad image by virtue of procurement. Mm-hmm. He has given it a serious issue. Remember now, the president has created on politics For five, 6 shows, we've always said that the president has never had a proper coordination process and a proper explanatory process, the communication process.
Right.
Now, Kinyua is coming very strong, that every week reports must be filed to Kinyua and Kinyua reports to the president. The president now has moved away from hands off, ears off, to hands on and dealing with this matter. Look at the perception of the teachers. Kaimenyi looked not to be receptive to the discussions of the teachers. Now he has brought a full-time law lecturer, a person who understands issues about teaching, a former employee of Teacher Service Commission, now becoming the Minister for Education.
Right.
So that the president has balanced the political aspect and the service delivery of a last straw, a magical straw I saw is that the president has moved away functions of budget allocation from the treasury to a situation where there is an intergroup community that will deal with that. That is one issue that has been the problem. So that the governors get their money when the money is available. Instead of the treasury peers dealing with money as if he is the one who decides which money goes at what time. So to me, I find out that the president took that cabinet reorganization and government reorganization in a holistic approach. He didn't only look at politics, he looked at the economy, he looked at service delivery, he looked at the perception the government will do, he also looked at the concerns at the international media. The government had been seen to be a government that was crumbling. For now, I'm sure the rating is going up, and with the coming of the Pope, now we are saying that the Pope will pray for that success of that new government, and we'll have a new wave forward.
So we can't wait for the next info track.
The info track will go now to 70%.
Let's talk about the entry of Sicily Karaoke.
Yes.
And you mentioned 4 pillars earlier: professionalism, political, distribution, competencies and all. Sicily Karaoke now, the head of public service and youth affairs, being picked from the principal secretary agriculture. She has an extensive career in the agricultural sector. Yes. She was once at the helm of T-Board of Kenya.
Yes.
So why her for youth affairs and public service? And what does it mean for the appointment of Sicily Karaoke now as a full-time CS from a PS?
We are also looking at the question of promoting gender and looking at Sicily Karaoke as a lady who is also moving up. 2, we are also dealing with the Sicily Karaoke as a career public servant who understands the questions of public service. Remember when the public service had Dalmas Otieno as the cabinet minister, a person who was well versed with issues of public service, there was a lot of coordination between the public service as the implementing arm of the executive, the cabinet minister, a person who was well versed with issues of public service. There was a lot of coordination between the public service as the implementing arm of the executive and the link between the political and policy aspect and service delivery to Wanjiku. So now when we get Sicily Karaoke there with a wide experience and acceptable credentials, where we are not going to see anybody raising issues about Sicily Karaoke, she's an expert, she's a professional, she has the skills, she has the gender, she has the appeal, and she has the drive to do that. That's what the president was looking at, that let us not forget the question of professionalism. Let us also look at the question of the youth. As I've said, the president has brought quite a number of issues about the youth. The Ministry of Youth, issues of youth disappeared under the old government. They were as if they were not the center of the Jubilee Manifesto. Now they have been put at the center of the Jubilee Manifesto. They have been removed from the issues of Ministry of Devolution, which was an umbrella body that has been put down. Once the president is going to give the executive order today or tomorrow on where the departments will fall, because that now will put in place which department has moved from here, which department has gone to that ministry. Remember now, he has appointed 41 principal secretaries to narrow to the questions of exactly the mandate that they have. Some of the departments were swallowed in the omnibus called the Ministry of Devolution. Now, Cicely Karaoke comes in as a wonderful lady who will do her job very well, and we wish her the best for that.
Wish her all the best for that. 2016 is quite literally weeks away.
Yes.
That makes the election time even draw nearer.
Yes.
Here comes almost a new cabinet, because even the faces, only in Kayseri, Rachel, Adan Mohammed and Amina Mohammed too were retained in their dockets.
Yes.
And Rotich.
Rotich.
The rest were moved.
Yes.
Okay? So what is this new phase of cabinet expected to deliver for the Jubilee government, politically speaking, come 2017?
The new arsenal, the new war chest in terms of human resource is now the implementation stage. Remember, much of the discussions from 2013 to 2015 has been formulating policies, has been formulating action plans, has been formulating strategic plans, has been looking for resources, has been laying the foundation. Now, remember the president went to Safaricom and picked a top guy there to be in charge of service delivery. Now we are now moving to the stage of results. So the new reorganization of government is purely not to go to discuss in boardrooms, is to move out to see the actualization of the dreams and the aspirations of the Jubilee Manifesto. So that is why the president said that in coming 2016 up to, in fact, the whole of 2016 will be results. Because 2017, the campaigns have started. So this reorganization comes in, and that's why I said when the Pope comes, he's coming to pray for them that now you guys must deliver. The question about what and what does not arise. And you'll always understand that in management, the framers of policies are not the best people to implement. So all these ministries, all these people who have been reshuffled, and the only people who have remained, it is not even 4. There are only 3. It is Rachel Mamo, because that is from the old government. That is Ambassador Amina and Adan Mohammed and Rotich. But Rotich has been hived off. Some sections have been removed because people have been saying that it is the treasury that has made no resources to be present. So we are seeing people who are coming in with the gust to deliver. People have seen that the president was a bit lenient. Heads could have rolled. 5 have rolled, plus 1 resignation. Still, these people are not permanent and pensionable. The president is asking for the results. So to me, when I see the machinery that is being placed for 2017, it is a machinery that the CORD government or the CORD coalition needs to think about. Yeah.
Of course, that has been DANSTAN OMARI, bringing us up to speed with what the new face of cabinet is and what we should expect from these particular people. So indeed, it has been a pleasure to have your company through. And thank you, DANSTAN, for coming through.
Welcome.
And of course, at 5 p.m., the Shepherd 1 will be landing at JKIA, arrival of the Pope. And KBC Channel 1 will be bringing you up to speed with the details. And of course, we'll be going live with the Pope's visit right here in Kenya. My name is Sm001. We take a bow and we'll catch up later. God bless you all.